welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Modern at the request of Patreon subscriber Rage, and this is Orzhov Smallpox. This is a prison control deck built primarily around the interaction of Smallpox and Flagstones of Trokair. Smallpox, if you're a BoshNRoll fan, you know. This is a card that I love across all formats. Black, each player loses a life, discards a card, sacks a creature, sacks a land. A lot of cards changing zones for just 2 mana here. And the way to break parity with this is Flagstones of Trokair. When this dies, you may search your library for a plains, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Obviously, Flagstones of Trokair does not cast Smallpox. That's why we have 4 copies of Fetid Heath to filter white into black, and 3 copies of Urborg. We have 7 ways to filter our 4 Flagstones of Trokair into black on turn 2, and that's kind of the nut draw. If we can cast turn 2 Smallpox with the Flagstones in play, we're cooking. The rest of the deck is built to take advantage of these broken resources. Thoughtseize picks your opponent's hand apart. Sheoldred's Edict, Fatal Push, Bloodchief's Thirst, just removal. Bloodghast is a creature that doesn't mind dying. It'll be back one day. You don't mind discarding it either, just covers all the bases here. Wrench Mind, a little extra discard. Lingering Souls, doesn't really care if you discard it. Also, it gives you bodies to sacrifice if you want to insulate something more powerful. Liliana of the Veil, the Queen of Pox herself. Each player discards, target player sacrifices. If she runs amok, she could take half their permanents. Kaya can control graveyards. This is really important in Modern because a card like Ren and 6 is very difficult for this deck to beat. But if they don't really have a graveyard to work out of, it might not be a big deal. And Vindicate, a card that has not existed until kind of recently in the Modern format, doesn't see a lot of play. Kind of perfect in this deck, because sometimes when Pox loses, it's because one permanent snuck through that you can't answer. Like they resolve some Planeswalker or some enchantment that your edicts don't hit or your removal doesn't line up against. Vindicate just gets all of it. And if your opponent sticks a land that you can't quite knock that last land out of play, Vindicate gets that too. Gideon Ally and Sorin Solemn Visitor both pump out tokens while not being affected by any of the Smallpox stuff themselves. Planeswalkers are kind of the nuts. If nobody has any resources and you have a Planeswalker, you're going to win. And these create steady streams of creatures to apply damage with. And then Braid's Cabal Minion. This is the Rage special. Banned in Commander, by the way. 2 black, 2/2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they sacrifice an artifact, creature, or a land. Just lock them. This deck might seem wild, but believe it or not, I have practical experience playing this archetype in the past. This is August 13th, 2017. I made the top 16 of a Star City event with Orzhov Smallpox. I actually punted my win in for this tournament. And here's how. Story time. Smallpox reads, each player loses 1 life, discards a card, sacks a creature, sacks a land. Those effects happen in that order. And I did not realize that Obstinate Baloth was a replacement effect, not a trigger. Which means, like, Obstinate Baloth reads, when this is discarded, it's put on the battlefield instead. I thought if I Smallpoxed my opponent, they would end up with an Obstinate Baloth, and I hesitated on my Smallpox till I could answer the Baloth. But actually, they would lose a life, discard a card. If they choose Baloth, it goes into play immediately in the middle of this spell resolving because it's a replacement effect. Then they sacrifice the Baloth as their only creature, then they sack a land. I had an Amulet player in Game 3. Their board was a tapped Golgari Keru land that they had just picked up another land, and I knew they had Baloth in hand, and I could have put them to stone nothing, and I just misunderstood that interaction, and that's why I top 16 instead of top 8. This deck was actually pretty solid at the time. The list looks a little different from back then, but cards are different now. But weirdly enough, I did have a real tournament run with this deck in the past. All that said, let's get into it. It's Pox time. Win your spot in the World Series of Poker main event in Las Vegas. Club GG is providing 100 exclusive packages between April 1st and June 30th for those who want to test their skills against the best. Each package includes the $10,000 main event entry fee plus $2,000 for travel. Use code BOSH for a free 7-day premium membership that includes entry to these satellite tournaments. I'm on the draw in round 1. My opponent has revealed Gigantha the Wellspring. I'm going to keep. Jeggy could be Domain Zoo or some Breach deck. Could even be Tron. Arid Mesa. My hand has a turn 2 Smallpox. It doesn't have the Flagstones to go with it. It also can answer a turn 1 Ragavan, which is a scary thing when you're on the draw as a box deck. And I'm going to have to take a turn off Smallpox to make sure this Rag doesn't run away with it. Drawing an untapped Black Source next turn would be sick. Okay, so they might not be Jeskai. I'm not going to play around Counter Magic. Flooded Strand. Uh-oh. Okay. Blast the Rag. If I get counterspelled here, I deserve it. Okay. Opponent is fetching. They floated a red, untap the red. A breeding pool. Okay, this does look kind of zooey. Yeah, for sure. Untap Black Source would be insane here. Oh yeah. Domain Zoo is not known for their excellent mana base. And hopefully the Smallpox just jacks them up. Discard Lingering Souls. Sacrifice the basic swamp. They gotta lose one of their dual lands, which either way cuts half of their domain off. They discarded a Tribal Flames. Cool. Now I have the option next turn to play my Shadowway Backstreet if they don't add to the board, and I can Lingering Souls if they do. I could also play the Backstreet and line up Liliana for the turn after. She's really good in this matchup. There are 3 Shadowy Backstreets in this deck, and that might be too many now that I'm seeing this play out, because the early turns are really important to do exactly what you want to do at all times. Oh, we're dashing a Rag. All right, playing around Edicts. They flipped a Liliana that they will not be able to cast, mercifully. Don't think I could ever beat that. The Backstreet being tutorable by a Flagstones of Trokair makes it a really appealing card in this deck. There's also a deck that doesn't get a lot of natural selection, which makes it appealing, but the ETB tapped, big cost in this game so far. And now that I've seen Ragavan, I'm just going to get my spirits in between my face and that monkey. If they had just played like Territorial Kavu, I might have taken 4 or 5 to get Liliana out on curve, but knowing that Ragavan is the threat they have, I'm going to chill on that. Shadowy Backstreet. Kaya. She eats Ragavan straight up. So does Liliana. I'm not going to attack. It's not my job to attack in this matchup. Not yet. It's my job to make sure my life total stays flush and I don't die to a flurry of burn. Soren's plus is your squad gets +1, +0 and lifelink. That's a pretty big turn when it happens. Like the game turns very quickly. 3 in the pool. 4 in the pool. What costs 4 in this deck? Is this a Scion? Oh, we're just hardcasting Leyline. Sure. That sets up Scions in the future, which means that I probably want to Kaya this Ragavan now, so I can Edict the Scion next turn. Here's Kaya. Exile target non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. That's Ragavan. Shadowy Backstreet. I don't need Fetid Heath at this point. And I'm still playing around a haste creature if I attack for 1 here. Let's go. And they're at 8 from all their shocking and stuff. If they can play Scion and another creature this turn, that would actually be pretty difficult to overcome. Just Scion's fine, though. Just Scion it is. Urborg. That is not important right now. Here's Liliana. Eat that Scion. Don't care about Hexproof. Kaya. Exile Scion and Ragavan from the graveyard, which also gains me 2 life. And here come the beats. And I can attack with both spirits because I could block and kill a Ragavan with Mishra's Factory. I animate it, block, have it pump itself to a 3/3. Maybe just getting in for 2 is better here, but they do have a notable haste creature in their deck that I don't need to play into if I don't want to. Leyline Binding takes out Liliana. Okay, if their last card in hand is another Scion, we could be in trouble for a little while till we find an answer to it. Yikes. All right. Hard mode activated. I'm at 17. Their creature has Vig and lifelink, though. That's so much. Maybe I'm supposed to split up the creatures. They still have one. All right, I'm going to exile Nishoba Brawler and Tribal Flames from the graveyard here. And I can play Sorin and Minus, or I could cast front and back of Lingering Souls. I think front and back of Lingering Souls kind of rules. There's a lot of those. They do have this giant creature that will be hard for me to beat. But I can crush back for a lot with Sorin next turn, but they also gain back a lot. They'll be at 10 from this attack. They'll be at 14 from the block. My deck has a lot of edicts in it. We're not ice cold, but this runner Scions was tough. Like a Smallpox does it, a Liliana does it. Oh wow, they didn't attack. First strike, hexproof, lifelink, trample. Did they forget they have first strike? Leaving that back. Okay, so I have 6 attackers here. I can make it 7 with a Mishra's Factory. Kaya can ultimate next turn. If I animate Factory and then plus Sorin, I'll have 12, 13, 14, 15 damage. They can absorb 3 of it on the attack, which means I'm dealing 12 damage, and they have 10 life. Okay. I'm going for the dub here. Animate this 2/2. Play Sorin. Plus Sorin. Squad gets +1/+0 and lifelink. Attack with everybody. Hope I've done this math right. They got Lightning Bolt's bad? Okay. Yeah, they definitely should have attacked last turn. That was weird. Okay. I mean, I have certainly on this channel forgotten all of the words on Scion at least once. Maybe they forgot about Vig or forgot about First Strike. Like, forgetting about multiple of the word, any one of the words in there could mess up that combat for them. Okay. Do I even have sideboard for this matchup, or is this one that we generally consider insanely favored anyway? I could bring in Leyline of Sanctities so they can't burn me out, but there's a lot of life gain in the deck, and the burn spells are kind of the things you discard first if we're fighting over discard effects. Yeah, Vindicate taking out the Leyline is actually a huge thing for this deck to be able to do. Yeah, I'm not changing anything here. Sometimes your deck is just already set up for a matchup. A Thoughtseize is a little slow. They kept 7. If they turn 1 Ragavan, I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm still going to keep. It's a playable hand. They've got the Leyline. And they didn't turn 1 any creatures. It's hiding Ragavan from sorcery speed removal. Oh no, that's so awkward. I can't play Thoughtseize this turn and spike Smallpox next turn, even though I did draw the Flagstones into double black, but I don't have a Smallpox, so I'm just going to chill. Cast this Thoughtseize. Show me that Ragavan you hid from my sorcery speed removal. Stubborn Denial. Who invited the cop? Okay. And that is a powerful interaction spell out of their hand. I would have preferred to take a 2-drop creature that they kept their hand on the strength of. Ooh, Savai Triome. Smallpox, please. It's time. Another Flagstones. Not ideal. I could just get a Bloodghast in here. And next turn, I could start casting Vindicates. We made it to turn 3. All right, Leyline Binding. They're down to 3 cards in their hand. They've interacted pretty well, but they have not applied any pressure to me. Like, if they just went Ragavan into Territorial Kavu this game, I'm just not winning ever. And there's Kavu, there's Nakatl. None of these things have Scion words on them. I could Vindicate the Kavu here. I'm actually going to do that. That might come back to bite me if they have a Scion later, but they were wide open to cast Scion there and didn't do it. So I'm just going to kill the biggest thing rather than plan for a future where they might have a Scion. Okay. I guess they were building up to a bigger attack this turn at the expense of leaving damage on the table. Smallpox, let's go. Oh wait, can I do better than this? Hold on. If I float white and then Legend Rule Flagstones, I'll have a Flagstones in play to sack still and get 2 planes out of this. I would like to use this ability. I don't really need to get Shadowy Backstreet here, but I do have cards that like being in the graveyard. Like if this hits a Bloodghast, that's pretty sick. Otherwise, it just gets shuffled. I do want Braids, but I am going to shuffle again here. Smallpox. This will kill the Nakatl. Discarding Lingering Souls because I would like to cast a spell this turn. Sack my Flagstones, you sack your Nakatl, you're Hellbent. And now I'd like to Shadowy Backstreet my way into an Edict. Urborg's in the graveyard. Flashback Souls. Okay, now we just have to see if we can beat this creature or not. I've done everything else. They drew a land. They figured out how to go to combat. That's unlucky for me. They could put Jeggy in hand, or they could just protect it. Okay. I mentioned last game the... Oh, I could hit Lingering Souls. I mentioned last game the Shadowy Backstreets were tough, but I've actually used all 3 here. Okay, Vindicate's an Insano. That takes out the Leyline. And then Scion's just a 4/4. I could beat a 4/4 a lot easier than all this. Take another big hit, though. Their life total's huge. Not really about that, though. Okay, please don't have Stubborn Denial off the top. Cool. All right, that's just a 4/4 now. Much more manageable, raceable, blockable. I don't want to go to 3 against this deck, though. I will start blocking this turn. Now we just need the top deck gods to deliver a removal spell or a lifelink effect or something. Another Lingering Souls buys me a lot of time. They are fetching. Got plenty of life to do that with. Hyper aggressive, but probably correct. Okay, I'm at 2. Let's go, deck. We need the hit right now. That's not it. All right. Pretty cool game. I don't know if taking out that Leyline instead of the Kavu would have been correct. Feels wrong. Ashiok Game Ender is really good against their mana base. They're heavily reliant on their fetches to get stuff together. I'm just not sure that any of the cards in my deck is worse than this. If Bloodghast just doesn't block, I can find other ways to win the game, if that's what they're about. I just worry that they don't actually care about their graveyard, and if they just Leyline Binding or Lightning Bolt the Ashiok, then it didn't do anything. I have to catch them in a spot where they're just stuck. All right, yeah, I don't even think that's good. I'm going to leave the Bloodghast in. On the play now. Show me the Pox start. All right, this is way too slow. Mulligan. This one has the upside of a Pox start. I'm going to keep it and put Godless Shrine to the bottom. And I'm going to lead on Flagstones. This Urborg could help them get Domain in some sort of annoying way for me. But I can still, if I draw Smallpox, just jam it. That did Heath. Okay. That's even better than Urborg. Just playing kind of a more normal control game here. They did not reveal Gigantha. So they either sideboarded something in here or they forgot. That's interesting. Yeah, it's just not even there. It would be sick if they tap out for a Kavu or something here. I can end step Edict it, untap, wreck their land. Oh, this looks like the world's most obvious Stubborn Denial I've ever seen in my life. I'm not going to play into that. Mishra's Factory. Don't think I'm ready for that thing. Getting it online, though, is pretty good. Okay, I will play Factory. They're fetching tapped Breeding Pool. They can't cast 2 Stubborn Denials with this mana. They're tapping out a blue here. All right, it's time to Edict. Sacrifice a non-token creature. Do this before they have another one in play. Mishra's Factory can trade with Nishoba Brawler. I could also Vindicate them off some number of lands. Red, white, black, green. All their good cards are green. Nishoba Brawler. They currently do have Domain. I could Vindicate them to 3 land types and no green. I'm going to play Backstreet, see what my next draw is, and that could affect... I put Marsh Flats to the graveyard. I'm going for the Vindicate, and I'm attacking the land here. Maybe this is wild. Maybe it's brilliant. We'll find out soon. Is this a 3/3 that Factory can trade with? If they just miss a land drop here, I'll be hyped. There's very few cards they can cast in their actual deck with the 2 lands they have in play. Yeah, no spell, no land. We're cooking. Godless Shrine enters tapped. I do need a spell here, but the gates are wide open. Lightning Bolt's bad for me because it blows out my Factory before I get the trade. Okay, that doesn't actually add any lands or colors, but they did find a land. Okay, let's engage. Factory, block, some old school magic here. Target assembly worker gets +1/+1. I choose this one. Cool. That card was busted for a long time in Magic's history. Smallpox, okay. They do have a swamp, and that's not the land they're going to sack. I don't have to play out Urborg, though. Yeah, I'm just not going to play out Urborg. It doesn't really affect anything. I could wait for them to cast a creature, or I could continue attacking their mana and get a Shadowy Backstreet. Yeah, I'm going to do that, actually. Not getting a creature with this kind of sucks. But having Shadowy Backstreet in deck, if this wasn't a card that existed, I would not be doing this right now. Backstreet. Oh, we're back. Backstreet's back. All right. Start dumping out lands. They sack the basic. And now we begin the squeeze. Play out my land. She's in here. I'm going to start beating up. I don't expect any obstinate bailout kind of stuff here. Metagame's very different than it was in 2017. Discarded a Leyline. I am hellbent. Screw beats Flood. If they break out of this, or if they like double bolt Liliana in the end step, or bolt in the end step, untap Tribal Flames, it's a 3-for-1, but they also still have this huge grip of cards, and I don't. I do need to get something going here. They still have no plays. Attacking that green source was nuts. I'll accept no criticism on that play at this point. Discarded Stubborn Denial. It was also their blue source. They've discarded 3 cards since I killed their breeding pool, and they were 2 blue cards and a green-blue card. Come on, deck. How about a card that does stuff? Any proactive thing is great. Just gotten a 5-for-1 and counting here, but I could still easily lose this game if they unlock with their mana. Yeah, Wooded Foothills, there it is. This Leyline Binding plus Wild Nacatl here, and they're back ahead. Fetching. There's no way there's 2 breeding pools in this deck. I would not believe that they built their deck that way. Yeah, they have to choose green or blue here. Green's definitely more important because that's just like most threats of the deck. And Binding, dealing with Liliana. Look, it's exactly the sequence I said they could play. All right, let's draw a spell. A real, actual good card, please. All right, Bloodghast. Better late than never, you sack of crap, but I'm still not happy to see you. I wish this Bloodghast had been attacking for the last 5 turns and my opponent didn't do anything. Bloodghast can't block. I'm at 13. And suddenly losing. Shober Brawler. Come on, deck. Real cards. Oh no, not like this. I needed these over the last several turns, and now they're showing up. I'm just probably dead next turn. Dead to a Tribal Flames. Nope, I meant 1 to a Tribal Flames. Bolt, untap Tribal Flames, GG. Sorin giving the Bloodghast lifelink could be a big swing. If I can vindicate the Leyline Binding, get back Liliana, and kill one of their creatures, that's probably still too far behind. I don't have a Damnation. Yep, ouch. Well, at least that card does anything. And my Bloodghast can attack this turn because they do actually push damage. Opponent didn't block. They were afraid of that. Okay. I don't think you can afford to be afraid to block with your Shober Brawler there. It's just such a free attack for me. Lingering Souls, old school gaming. We had super old school gaming in Mishra's Factory, and now Lingering Souls suddenly getting me a bunch of stability where I was mostly dead. Still mostly dead, but I do have some stability now. Oh, this thing has trample. I have no stability. Am I just dead? This is 4-5 damage. I'm at 1. I get a trade and I'm at 1. Uh-oh. There's red men in the pool. That's bad for me. Yep. Yeah, and that does happen in the Pox life. We had them hooked for a long time, but screw beats Flood, and I had, 4 turns there to draw anything that does anything, and instead I drew 4 lands, and they eventually found a green source and dumped out their whole shit. The only decision, I think, that could have been very different this game is if I held this Smallpox until they had a creature. That would have eaten this Nacatl. They probably have to sack the Sacred Foundry. Or no, they would have had the basic planes that whole time, which means that they would have been able to cast this Binding the whole time, which means Liliana would not have been in play for that long. Yeah, that was just a long series of run beds, even with a few surveils. On to the next round. But we had some fun with the box. This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there. I'm on the draw for round 2. Love this hand. Urborg makes everything work. Misty Rainforest. Fetch. Steam Vents. Another Ragavan gamer. How about you stop it? Just stop it. Oh, okay. Stop it. Stop it worked. You just have to call it out. Just tell them to stop and they will. That's such an asshole thing to say. That's like your dumb teachers when you're a kid and you're like getting bullied and they're like, well, did you tell them to stop? No, never occurred to me. Thoughtseize you. Maybe it's better to play Bloodghast this turn than try to Thoughtseize them. Because I could Thoughtseize plus Smallpox next turn. Yeah, I should have played Bloodghast. This is a spew. Bolt, Force of Negation, Unholy Heat. Well, I don't care about any of my creatures being alive, so I'm going to take Force of Negation. That card's very good against Lingering Souls, which I can't currently cast. Thundering Falls fetched in the end step. Been to Flooded Strand. This is a game where I'm probably going to hold on to this Smallpox until there's a Murktide region I can target with it. Or not target with it, but you know what I mean. I can hit with it. I'm going to put Bloodghast on the stack. I don't care if this thing dies, and it lets me play my top land this turn. Pain-free. The thing I'm most worried about them is them dashing a Ragavan. If their last two draws in order were Counterspell Murktide region, and they could play Murktide with Counterspell up right now, that would also be very bad for me. Okay, they didn't dash the Rag. That's interesting. Why not? They 3 cards in the hand. Smells like a Counterspell of some kind. The way that they didn't dash. Do they think my black-white deck just doesn't play removal? I'm going to attack with Bloodghast to start. I'm going to distract them with a Fatal Push. I'm not super worried about this Ragavan, actually. Mishra's Factory just lines up so well against that card. It does not line up well against the pile of burn in their hand, though. Just going to get another Bloodghast in here if they're going to sit back on their interaction. As soon as they target one of these with Unholy Heat, I'm already just winning in life, even if I don't win the game. A Swamp. And the cool thing is, they'll eventually have to, because if these both connect right now, they'll have haste the rest of the game. Okay, they have haste now. Watch yourself. And I will add to the squad with Lingering Souls. They draw on a Force of Negation. Doesn't look like it. I'm not going to play around Spell Pierce. Let's just jam it. I feel like the shields are down, and I'm coming in. Cool. Just 8 power in play, none of it's worth Unholy Heating. That's the Pox Life we're looking for. Again, I just don't think there is a sideboard here. The sideboard is built for specific problems like Tron or Hammer or Amulet. Decks that are just trying to play out creatures and attack your life total. This is what we're built for. I am just going to submit my deck again. Though, Ashiok is much better against this deck because they do care about their graveyard a lot. Bloodghast is that steady threat, though. I love Bloodghast. I think shaving 2 of them for some Ashioks is solid, though. Okay, another hand that sucks against Ragavan, but is good against most other things. They kept 7. Ouch. Ooh, okay. Pass with that up. Sick. Alright, what are they showing here? Spell Pierce? Or End Step Consider? Yeah, I think I'm going to Shadowy Backstreet rather than shock myself to Thoughtseize into obvious interaction. Yeah, they just took 2 and didn't have anything. I think they have Spell Pierce. Mishra's Bauble. Bobbling me. More worried about my card than their own selection. They do have a fetch land here if they wanted to use Bauble in that fashion. Lingering Souls. And they did see that off that Bauble. But guess what? It's your boy who you have no good interaction for in your whole deck. Bloodghast. The clock's ticking. Stern Scolding. Yeah, you got me. It'll be your next turn. I don't have any removal, though. Like, this is actually a spot where even if they play something dumb like Ledger Shredder, I'm probably in trouble for a little while. I could Thoughtseize plus Wrenchmine next turn. Just beat that hand up. Flagstones. Okay. I like having Flagstones in play, just in general. This also returns Bloodghast. Filter black, start with Thoughtseize. Wrenchmine isn't random, is the thing. Normally it's better to Hymn to Turok first, then Thoughtseize, but this is not Hymn to Turok. Ooh, they do have an answer to Bloodghast in their deck. Look at them. They will have no hand at the end of this exchange, though. Unless they sandbagged a Mishra's Bauble, or their hand is currently 3 lands. Been to Preordain. Okay, take Fable, and then I'm going to wrench the other 2 cards. Opponent is Hellbent, but they do have a 3/3. Counterspell Lightning Bolt hit in the bin. They know I'm holding Lingering Souls, which does not line up that great against DRC. And they're drawing Wild because they surveilled Preordain away. It's interesting that you don't want Preordain in a spot where you're top decking, but I guess they didn't know they were top decking. They might not have expected to lose everything that turn. Come on, Liliana. Oh, Smallpox, that's even better. Let's get him. It's time for D's nuts. Smallpox. I'm going to discard Godless Shrine because I have hopes of casting both sides of this Lingering Souls. Godless Shrine, sack Flagstones, get a Backstreet. Backstreet, showing me another Pox. Keep it. And I can play Plains for turn because I don't need to surveil into something that I already know I want. Thundering Falls, opponent's top decking. They binned Mishra's Bauble. Good call. Dashing Rag, that's very smart. That's going to take a Smallpox. All right, yeah, good call. They do know that I just kept that card on top. They also know I'm holding Lingering Souls, which is going to brick this Rag forever. But they did take a card that I actively wanted. Smallpox is sick because when your opponent's dashing Rag from Hellbent, you get to kill the Rag whether it's in play or not. Unfortunately, they took it from me. I'll never know. I knew the whole time. Shadowy Backstreet. I don't need a Thoughtseize at this phase of the game. Lingering Souls, handle the business. Get out there. Unfortunately, they do have a 1-mana creature in their hand. If they just dump out Murktide plus Ragavan here, that's really good. However, if they play nothing and get Smallpox, that's really bad. I should attack first. This attack is happening regardless, because I can flashback Lingering Souls, even if the card in their hand is a counterspell. This Ragavan is not going to hit me. And if it's not a counterspell, they're in trouble. They sack the Spirit, sack Fetid Heath. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to keep my basic. The third color makes me strongly suspicious that they are not a Blood Moon build of this deck. But that is still something I want to think about at least a little bit. And now Lingering Souls, dominating. Just playing out lands. I'm out of Backstreets. I do still have a Shrine I can get tapped. Ayo, let's keep them coming. In for 3. Next turn in for 7. Souls. Souls. They stay lingering. This card also dominated formats. Won a Legacy Grand Prix, by the way. I don't need her, but boy is she sweet right now. She actually could still beat a Murktide, or I beat a Murktide anyway, I just tack around it. But we're going to get at least one Braids sack here, unless they bolt it in the end step. Chew them up, Braids. Finish it off. Win a game of Modern with Braids in play. Achievement unlocked. We got a Braids, let's go in the chat. She's here. That's the correct attitude. Get hyped about exciting cards even when you're losing. Alright, they sack probably the treasure token. And I'm going to sack one of my spirits if they don't concede first. I think my lands, I have enough 4 and 5 drops. Okay, they're just scooping. I would have sacked a spirit though. There's plenty here to get the game won without all 7 of the spirits, and my lands could still be useful. On to the next round. Welcome to TopDeck.gg, your community's home for everything competitive Magic has to offer. If you're hosting an event, playing for a huge prize, or advertising your events to thousands of players, we've got you covered. Using intuitive pairing software, playing Magic is a breeze. Players just have to sign up online, then scan the QR code in-store. Give competitors the gift of perfect information as their bracket updates in real time. The self-reporting software saves you time and leaves paper match slips in the past. Leave the heavy lifting to TopDeck.gg so your community can relax and focus on playing Magic. Welcome to round 3. My computer shut down halfway through game 3 of this match, so I'm going to rebuild it from replays. Best I could do. Mulligan is 0 lander, which is awkward with a 25 land deck. Joke that it's the mirror match. I was surprised they took Bloodchief Thirst over any of the Planeswalkers here, but figured they were planning to curve out with something, and Dauthi Voidwalker does explain why they took the removal spell, and that means that they could even Thoughtseize Gideon and then have a Gideon, but I'm too good. Ripped a removal spell. Urza's Saga. My deck doesn't have a great plan for Urza's Saga in general, except to wade through it. Vindicating the Voidwalker because there's so much graveyard stuff with my deck. The decision to Vindicate Saga versus Voidwalker there is a really close one, but Lingering Souls, Bloodghast, Flagstones of Trokair, them Thoughtseizing my Gideon and them having it. There's a lot of unbeatable things that the Voidwalker enables. Unfortunately, they saw the Kaya off of their Inquisition of Kozilek, which means that Pithing Needle gets to turn off my best weapon here. Attack with 1 spirit because I'm going to Smallpox. This is actually a great Smallpox because I get to discard a card that's turned off anyway, and they have to lose a land, and if they miss this land drop, their Saga isn't going to function. Shadowy Backstreet, Bins of Bloodghast. Glad there's not a Dothy Voidwalker here. Dial Spellbomb, though, right here in the main deck, wipes out Bloodghast and Lingering Souls. Drawing Vindicate's pretty dope, but this rack is a problem. I needed them not to have a good 2-mana play there, but they did. And here, because this is Godless Shrine, I'm actually just dead on board here, but I have to hope that they don't realize that I'm dead by attacking. If they just suicide attack their Bowmaster in, I'm dead in my upkeep. But between the top of their deck and the one card left in their hand, they found a Shoulder's Edict, and it doesn't matter. They did miss the point of damage, though, and if I still had Gideon in play here, I would have just gained 9 life on an attack and probably easily won the game from there with Sorin. But even though they missed the attack, they did hit the land drop and remove Gideon, and then the double rack was enough. Here comes game number 2. I boarded in my Leyline of Sanctities because their deck is so heavy on discard, and I think that this many lands with this many Shadowy Backstreets and Leyline is good enough. Just keeping 7 so important here. There's even old urban legends from back in the day that you're supposed to take the draw versus 8 rack, which I never really believe in. I don't know if that's true. Maybe I'm just wrong, but that seems so crazy. And here's Lingering Souls. I did see it off Shadowy Backstreet, but I think casting the front and back of it in a matchup this grindy when your opponent mulls to 5 and they're missing land drops and legend rolling their own lands and stuff, it's better to just have 4 creatures than try to get cute and have half as many, but you get the sick value of milling over a flashback spell. And here I'm just driving. This attack very obviously telegraphs the second Bowmaster, so I didn't block. And they did have the second Bowmaster, push the extra damage. Mishra's Factory was summoning sick there, so it couldn't block and buff itself. Gideon's in play now. And now we're just hanging out, waiting for this Gideon to take over the game. I'm happy to trade these off. Opponent thinks this is a good trade because they think Gideon's off, but I know that it's not. I Vindicate the Pinning Needle, and Gideon's back in action. Bloodchief Thirst, push extra damage. Now I just want to get the game won before they draw a rack, because that's the card that might still whittle me down. But they're just doing a whole lot of nothing. I've got a Smallpox too. This is where we pick back up and I'm live. I just resolved the Smallpox, and I'm going to start getting the game won with Gideon. I hope. Oh, I missed an attack with Mishra's Factory. It is extremely stressful when you're basically brand new, many $1,000 computer built for streaming just fucking dies in the middle of your job where you're responsible for content every day. So you can forgive me for missing those 2 points. Okay, still won the game. All right, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Got a league to get back to. Okay, I still think this plan is reasonable. And Wrenchmind actually seems really good if they're get kind of cagey about their last couple cards, and then you're able to strip them and then take over. But it seems really bad if we're both already hellbent, which is the position both decks are trying to put us in. Yeah, I'm just gonna go same deck back in. Got the Leyline again, and pretty reasonable hand besides. Let's go. Keep. And now opponent is in the spot where they have to decide whether discard spells are going to be good or not, because they've seen Leyline in my deck, but discard is a big part of their deck, and they did roll to 6. Did they bottom a Thoughtseize, or did they keep it and end up losing a card that could have been useful if I didn't have Leyline? We'll never know. They're leading on an Urborg, hooking me up. That means I can Thoughtseize them now, which I could not do if they didn't play Urborg. I do think getting a jump on what their hand might do, like Dothy Voidwalker, is worth more than being able to Smallpox on turn 2. And look at this, they have Grief and Not Dead after all. This is actually a huge part of their deck that is shut down by Leyline. It's probably why they appeared to do so little last game. Okay, I think Smallpoxing here is just insane. it guarantees that the Saga never makes a construct. It might not make one anyway, though. And Smallpox here does make the rack better, which is where things would go. And I would straight up lose a land. Okay. I'm going to play Shadowy Backstreet and hopefully keep that Gideon. And hopefully just be able to wait through Urza Saga, or if they just miss their land drop, and is not a problem anyway. But Fatal Push plus Smallpox can catch up to the Saga, even if they do hit their land drop. I just have to do some work for it. Okay, they did have it. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just going to Lingering Souls. And I'm not going to crack this Marsh Flats. Like, if the Lingering Souls convinces them to get... Well, they can't Nihil Spellbomb me anyway, because of Leyline. If it convinces them to get something other than the rack here, that's all good for me. If they just pivot onto a Shadow Spear beatdown plan, my removal will tear them apart. If they have a Soul Guide Lantern, they can take out Lingering Souls without targeting me. Now they're in on the constructs. They did get Nihil Spellbomb. That doesn't work. Whoops. Unless that was just the best thing they could get. I like my spirits more than I like 3 life right now. Yeah, they played Malakir Rebirth as a land. Their next land casts Grief, which is pretty powerful. Speaking of powerful, I could shove Gideon here. Gideon stabilizes worse than Lingering Souls, though. Like, I could play this other Lingering Souls from hand. Then between Fatal Push and double blocks, I can control their board pretty well with this. I could even just double soul next turn. Even get an attack here. I do need to get them dead, because in the super endgame between these decks where neither player has a card in their hand and nobody can stick a creature, the player with the rack's going to win that. Urza Saga. Very good draw. That's really the only angle of their deck I'm worried about right now. They can cast Grief here, just have a 3-2 menace. Dauthi Voidwalker, hate that. I guess I could just target that with Fatal Push, if that's what I'm worried about. But they can not dead that? Bummer. Alright, I guess I'm Fatal Pushing the Construct token. I'm trying to set up some good blocks. Okay, triple block one of these. Not dead after all, doesn't save. Token creatures. Push the other one. I do have to be careful with this Sheoldred's Edict now that they have a Voidwalker. I can't really shove Gideon until I answer that. The discard does happen before the sacrifice on Smallpox, so even if I shove Smallpox here, they still get Gideon. Vindicate. That kills... Nope. Same problem. Not dead after all. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its own control with a Wicked Roll. Yep. I'm trying to avoid that. I could Vindicate the Urza Saga, but then they have Vindicate, and then they can Vindicate my Leyline and start scamming me. I could just race them here. Let's cast both Lingering Souls. Souls. Attack for 2. I could play Gideon and immediately emblem him, making the squad much bigger. Yeah, the Not Dead After All functioning in its intended limited capacity of protecting a creature from removal is actually really good right now. Something's happening. Oh, we're shoving Sheoldred. Cool. She's good. I can Vindicate her, and they did not play a land. If I draw a land here... Oh, Liliana. Liliana doesn't really change anything. I still think Vindicating Sheoldred is the play. She's gone. There is a Vindicate in the Void. Attack with all my creatures. Yeah, if they want to sack their Voidwalker, Vindicate my Leyline, and then unlock the Scam in their hand, that would be a pretty powerful turn. They do have to beat the 6 flying power that's in play, and they lose an unblockable 3-2 to make that line. They could make a construct and do all of this. Like, make a construct, get the rack, name me, Vindicate my thing, strip my hand, have a 3-2 in play, or 4-3 in play, and the rack would be dealing 2 per turn. That would be competitive. They are not making a construct. They are getting the rack. Seems likely they're setting up the line that I said. Yep, here it all comes. Yep, there's Vindicate. Here comes Grief. Whether they hard cast Grief or pitch a black card to scam it's going to be an interesting decision. They are scamming it, pitching Liliana of the Veil, meaning Sheoldred's Edict and Not Dead After All are the 2 cards in their hand. They're going to take Gideon and Lily, I imagine. Oh, they took Smallpox. Fascinating. Why are we worried about Smallpox? I guess they don't care about Lily. Lily kills Grief, though, and then they don't have a clock other than the rack. Okay, this will be interesting what they actually name here. I thought for sure I'd be left with Smallpox. Because poxing into the rack, I lose a life, I don't have any hand, I lose a creature on my clock. Okay, they seem to think that they can beat Gideon with Children's Edict. I'm just going to play him and emblem him immediately. Creatures I control get +2/+2. Or +1/+1. And +2 would be so good. This card's already good. They do get to cantrip off this Nile Spellbomb. If they hit a Thoughtseize here, I'm quitting Magic. Oh my god, it's over! It's over! I've enjoyed making these videos for everyone all these years. But that's the end of it. Okay, can I afford to fetch? I go to 7 from the rack. Then they hit me for 4, and I'm at 3, and I need 2 turns. So 4, 7, 10. Could be 9. I can't afford to fetch. All right, I cannot backstreet here. I am currently winning the race. Oh, wow, that's insane. Okay. Attack with everything. Kaya was an incredible draw here. She can exile the rack, and then we're out of here. Or if my opponent draws another rack, I'm dead. I just can't let them do that. All right. Well, not that I could let them do anything. I just hope they don't do that. Don't draw a rack. Fingers crossed. We got the GGs. Still going to push those last points of damage. Unless those were the call an ambulance, but not for me, GGs. And then they play the rack second main. Okay, no. Okay, we did it. On to the next round. The NYSE Open is a prestigious, long-running vintage tournament based out of New York City. It's returning again this summer, June 22nd, 2024 in Plainview, New York. This 15 proxy event has a $500 entry. That's a lot of money, but what are we playing for? First place gets a Black Lotus. Second through 8th place get Time Twister, Time Walk, and all 5 Moxen. At 115 players, a playset of Bazaar Baghdad is added to the prize pool. At 135, 4 Mishra's Workshops. At 155, 4 foil Gaia's Cradle. This prize pool is better than Eternal Weekend. If you think it's worth playing for, sign up for the event on melee.gg or use the link in the video description, and I will definitely see you there. I'm on the draw in round 4. It's a lot of draws to have, a lot of die rolls to lose when you're a Pox deck. Pox is just always better on the play. I'm going to keep this hand even though it doesn't have a Flagstones. It does have turn 2 Smallpox. Blackleaf Cliffs, and we're just getting scammed. They probably just have to take both Smallpoxes, though, as I suspect this deck will not recover very well from that. Unless they have another not dead effect, because then they can let me Pox, roast all my own shit, and they just get their Grief back. And if I Smallpox after this aggressive exchange this early, and the Grief doesn't actually die, or even worse, dies then comes back, that is horrendous for me. The Grief is, in fact, not dead after all. They also pitched a not dead after all to do that, and they did strip both boxes. The race is on. Sorin Solemn Visitor could be good to clean up later, but I do have to survive 2 turns here of bashes from Grief before I can even start to interact with it. Even then, my interaction gets blown out by the structural function of their deck. They didn't do anything on that turn. Bloodchief Thirst can't help me yet. Ragavan, hate that. That makes the Edicts worse. It makes the Vindicate work, though. Okay, Liliana. This is interesting. If I Liliana and minus, and they keep Grief, what does that mean for me? If I Vindicate Grief, what does that mean to me? It means Ragavan's going to hit me. And if I play Liliana and minus, they get the selection out of what they might do. But then it might gain me some life if they attack Liliana instead of me. But Liliana doesn't do anything next turn because I'm not trying to plus cards out of my own hand at this point. I'm trying to stabilize. I think just Vindicating Grief is the line. I've spent this whole game worried about what if they bring this thing back when I try to kill it. And right now they can't do that. Vindicating the Grief. It's gone. I lose a life. Ragavan is a problem. I have Bloodchief Thirst for it. Just hope them unlocking this mana. They've been playing this whole game on 1 mana. I hope doing something with Ragavan here doesn't bust open the game for them. Oh, they got Kaya. If they have a mana source here, Kaya is going to be really hard for my deck to beat. Shame that they took my Kaya too. Her eating Ragavan here and then stabilize the game's pretty fucked up for me. They do have it. This was a bad turn for them to draw a mana source. Okay, they're declining my Kaya, though. They're playing Fable the Mirror Breaker. An untapped land is excellent here. Any untapped land. But not the third Liliana. This card, basically completely useless. But I will fire it in there. Make them sack a creature. They're probably going to lose Goblin Shaman because Ragavan's the same thing, but also draws a card. Okay, moment of truth. Can this Fable turn it around for them? If they brick, I can stabilize. But they have not bricked so far. They've been very good at not bricking, despite playing this whole game on one land up to this point. They discarded Molten Collapse and kept the rest of their cards. Keeping land number 4 is scary. That unlocks Sheoldred, that hardcast Grief. They took Shadowy Backstreet from me. That card was not super useful. I don't mind seeing it go. And they're fetching. There's a 4-drop coming. Or a 3-drop where they don't want to spend their treasure. That could also work. Voidwalker. And Orcish Bowmaster. Oh my god. Yeah, that's a lot of creatures out of nowhere. This game... There's the 4th Liliana. Shut up. Alright, next game. Yeah, this game was just behind on everything. Just kind of play draw, really. Like, even if I just have my first land out a turn earlier and I'm ahead of each of those creatures rather than just behind each of those creatures, that's a big difference maker. Void Mirror does counter a Grief from coming down, but I don't think that matters as much as just having Leyline. Don't really care about Wrenchmind. And they have a lot of main deck graveyard hate. Kind of the same thing that was going on last round. Do I think one Wrenchmind is better than one Bloodghast? I think I like the Bloodghast. I could cut Bloodghast for Ashiok, but they don't really use their graveyard once it's in the graveyard. And Ashiok doesn't interact in the ways that I need a card to. I could bring in Surgical, but that also doesn't stop Grief. You really just need a Leyline if you're going to stop that stuff. On the play, I have the one of Bloodghast. His hand is not very good. I'm going to mulligan this. I just don't think Gideon's going to solo a game for me. Not being able to Thoughtseize on 1 sucks, because by then they're going to be griefing me. But I don't think I'm going to go to 5 here. I will keep this in bottom 1 of the Thoughtseizes. The one of Bloodghast showing up again. They're on the mull to 5. I'm on the mull to 6. Start with Backstreet. I don't want a Vindicate here. I want more lands or things that are cheaper. Blood Crypt. And here comes Grief, pitching a Thoughtseize. This is why this land coming into play tapped was such a beating. If I Thoughtseize them, take this Grief, their hand probably doesn't function. But as has been discussed throughout the league, the Shadowy Backstreets have been really good in some spots and really bad in others. Finding the balance of those is going to be important to anyone who cares to work on this deck. Unfortunately, this Vindicates in my hand, or else I would get some kind of free value off this discard. Basic Plains. I'm going to cast Bloodghast. And then the race is on. In for 4. And because of the buff from the Wicked roll, I can't even double block with a Lingering Souls. I can make that card really bad, though. Attack with Bloodghast. Can't block. Better bash. Heath. And Souls. And I hope they cast Thoughtseize. Let me recoup something somewhere here. Just Grief attacking. They found a land that unlocks Voidwalkers and Bowmasters, all sorts of good cards. Attacking with everything. This Fatal Push is giving me a lot of confidence. Flashback Souls, and pass the turn. If one of my creatures dies this turn, I can Fatal Push the Grief. If that doesn't happen, I can push the Ragavan. Or I could just keep Fatal Push in my hand. I think this Ragavan's eventually going to have to trade with Bloodghast. If they cast a discard spell, I'll just push the Rag. Ooh, Ragavan's coming in. This makes me feel like they drew a Bowmaster. I'm still just going to block it with 1 Spirit, though. Okay. What was that about? They didn't not dead their own Ragavan or anything. Okay, push the Grief. They could not dead it again, and this just loses me a life, but at least I don't lose a card this time around. If it's dead, that's really exciting. Godless Shrine, not super useful. Does recur the Bloodghast, though. If that ends up being a thing I need to do. I'm just coming with everything. I'm not going to leave back a Spirit in case they dash Ragavan, just whatever, man. Are they going to trade with Bloodghast? Would be kind of cool if they did. Nice. Okay, this land drop saved it for post-combat and rewarded for that.
We're still kind of top decking and noodling around and not totally ahead here. Fable could flip this very quickly. Bloodghast is getting to work, though. I love a Bloodghast when it goes off. Looks like they're in the tank about whether this Bowmaster is going to attack or not. Doing the combat math here. Do they need to block Bloodghast? If they do, would they rather block it with Bowmaster or Goblin Shaman? I think trading off Bowmaster is the way to go, if I were them. They thought about it for a long time, decided not to bash. Liliana is a great draw here. Because by not attacking with Bowmaster, it tells me they're intending to block with it, and then I get to Liliana the Goblin. There's the block. Let's get this board clear. And Bloodghast does have haste, which means even a land is a reasonable draw here. They have 2 cards in their hand. They have a Fable trigger. 1-for-1 removal is not very good. I'm now ahead of the race. They discarded both their cards. They're going full random here. Blackleaf Cliff's tapped. And pass with a card in your hand. Whoa! Okay. Here's that boy. Plus Liliana. Marsh Flats. I'm going to give the squad +1/+0 and lifelink. This makes Bloodghast lethal even if they stabilize somehow. Okay, they've had enough. Cool. Game number 3. That Bloodghast was really good. I don't know what that means. Like, should I have more in, or was 1 actually the correct number? Maybe Braids is bad and Bloodghast is better. I'm just going to make that 1 change. Just having one of those zooming around was pretty exciting. I'm on the draw now, where Leyline is even more important than it is on the play. On the draw, my hand, I do have a functional 7-card hand. Opponent kept 7. They mulled a 5 last game to find a scam. This hand is just so fine against any deck that's not going to shred me with grief. I'm going to mulligan. I'm going to chase a Leyline at least a little bit. Oh no. My Leyline chase didn't work. Do I want to go to 5 to keep looking? Kinda. Here we go. Oh no! Alright, I'll keep this hand. We've probably lost. That was a lot of looks without finding that card. Put back, Swamp, and Vindicate. Okay, we're in trouble to a lot of stuff here. This is a tough balance because it's not like Leyline of the Void versus Dredge, where you could like go to 2 and it might be good enough to solo the game. Leyline of Sengage is not solo the game versus Scam, but it is very good. And finding the balance of when do I just keep a hand with kind of a plan versus go for my powerful sideboard card. And, you know, now that we're looking at this hand, I wish I just kept my 7. And they've got Ragavan. Fatal Push, Flagstones. Okay. I'm going to play Flagstones and pass. Any discard spell's bad, out of my deck or out of theirs. If they hit one of my 3-mana Planeswalkers, I'm in trouble. They took Shadowy Backstreet. That one's fine. It's gone. You can have it. Dothy Voidwalker. Yeah, just not having a removal spell is going to kill me here. Suddenly a removal spell. What does this do? I could just slam the Pox. If they keep Ragavan over Voidwalker, then Kaya's really good next turn. I could just Thirst the Voidwalker, Kaya the Rag, and play a slower game here. I don't like taking all these hits from Ragavan, though. Especially when I'm holding the Smallpox. Or the card I discard would end up in the grave, or would end up in the void. Okay, I am Smallpoxing here. And I'm going to hope that they value Ragavan more than they value Voidwalker, because then this ends up in basically the same position as if I cast Bloodchief Thirst, but a not dead effect just roasts me either way, because that doesn't care how the creature dies. Yuck, alright. They did choose Ragavan, which means everything's gonna... Oh shit! I forgot Voidwalker turns off Flagstones, I'm so dead! Ugh! I was busy, like... If this was just a 3-2 with no abilities, I'm already losing to it, and I forgot that it also just turns off my Flagstones. Shit. Okay, I'm dead. That's not just a tilt scoop, but both the Not Dead After All keeping their board completely intact, the Ragavan developing their mana, and me just forgetting that I can't actually play my game plan with the Voidwalker in play. I don't think I was ever winning that game. Yeah, that sucks. Alright, on to the final round.
The official BoshNRoll Island Ponder Keep shirt is available exclusively through Coalesce Apparel. This Magic player-owned business is a staple of our community. They keep this channel on the air, and it's my pleasure to partner with them for this product. Coalesce is the best Magic apparel on the market. They have awesome new designs coming out all the time. Use code BoshNRoll to get 10% off your order only at coalesceapparel.shop.
I'm on the draw in the final round. 5 for 5, lost die rolls in one of the most important die roll decks there is. And I have the Flagstones, but no enabler. Oh, so close. Got a mulligan. Okay. All right. The full spread. Never mind. No complaints. I'm going to keep this, and I don't need Bloodghast and Lingering Souls. Those are both discard fodder. I could save Gideon for later. Yeah, I'll do that. All right, Gideon's to the bottom. Okay, here we go. Who against Infect? If I don't get... Oh, no, not Infect. What is this deck called? Ardent Scales. If I'm not going to get turn 2, and Smallpox is usually brutal against decks like this one. Also, due to my earlier computer problems and some scheduling stuff that came up today, there are 45 minutes left for me to finish this league. Like, the league is ending. The Magic Online season is rotating. So, hopefully this game doesn't last that long. But, look at this nuts. Bang. Kill a Patches, kill an Inkmoth Nexus, take a card from your hand, discard Bloodghast, lose no resources. This is the Plague Wind. This is the best start we've had, easily, by far, in the whole thing. We haven't won yet, but this is very, very good. Discard Flagstones. I'm going to get a Shadowy Backstreet. They discarded a Walking Ballista. Yeah, get that out of here. Bloodghast comes back immediately because that's how timing works. Thoughtseize. Is this a card I'm interested in? I have 3 drops to play for the next several turns, but also knocking a card out before it's in play is a big deal. I could Vindicate next turn and then Souls plus Thoughtseize the turn after that. Will the game still be getting played at that point? I don't think so. I'm going to get rid of Thoughtseize. Based on what they do, I can Souls or Vindicate. If I draw another Edict, I'll feel really good. Pendlehaven. They've got green available now. Another Smallpox is bonkers. I got the Flagstones ready to go. Happy to discard Lingering Souls. Opponents in the tank. I don't know if they realize we only have 40 minutes left to finish this match. Soul Cauldron. And that's good because it is passive graveyard hate versus my Bloodghast. I ended up drawing Thoughtseize anyway. And if my opponent's not going to add to the board, do I just Thoughtseize them here? I think I do. I was worried I'd have to stabilize versus creatures, but let's just get a look at what they've been sandbagging. The One Ring. Yeah, okay. Let's not play against that card. And then Beseiju is the card in their hand. I'm going to play Marsh Flats because that could be a Shadowy Backstreet. And they can fire up Inkmoth Nexus and put a +1 counter on it. That could also kill Bloodghast if they want. There's the Beseiju. End step, Backstreet. Don't need a Fetid Heath. They do just have full blocking capability here. If they animate Inkmoth Nexus, make it 2/3, and then they can exile Bloodghast from my graveyard, I think I'm going to Vindicate something here. Whether it's Inkmoth Nexus or Agatha's Soul Cauldron, I think it's Nexus. Yeah, all right. I don't believe there's any tricks in the graveyard that can stop this from happening. Yep, just placed it in the bin where it belongs. Attack with Bloodghast. Do I save this land drop? No, I'm going to run it out. If I draw a land, I can double spell next turn. Yeah, they're just exiling my Vindicate. Sure, you can have it. That doesn't do anything. 3 mana over there. Bloodghast getting in. Liliana. Interesting. Now I kind of wish that I had held my land drop. I guess that doesn't matter. They could just exile Bloodghast anyway. And I am not giving them a free lunch on this Soul Cauldron. I'm just going to play out more threats. Because if I play Souls, they can exile it without me getting the back half. If I play Liliana in plus, they can exile the Ghast or the Souls without me getting the value. Okay, now they have a 2/3 again. The Liliana can roast it. And I have a land, which doesn't matter that much. What do I do with this? I could just attack with both things. No, then they get free money. I could just play the front and back of Lingering Souls without passing priority. Is that better or worse than killing Inkmoth Nexus and losing a Bloodghast to do it? I think killing Inkmoth Nexus is really good. Attack with my gas. Here's the animate. There's the pump. Oh no, I didn't know that could happen. What a blowout. Oh, they're exiling Patches O'Houlihan instead of Bloodghast. That rules for me. All right, that went as good as it ever could. This ends up exactly the same for them, except I have a Bloodghast in play. Liliana, eat that Nexus. Okay, that was awesome. We got a very good exchange there. That wasn't... I was happy to lose a Bloodghast to answer the Inkmoth, but instead, we get it all. There is a counter on Ozolith now, which means their next creature, there's one right now. Firing up Inkmoth, putting the counter on it actually... No, that's good. I was going to say that might be a mistake, because now they can't Pendelhaven it, but they can exile Ballista, make it a 3/3, then it's bigger anyway. Okay, I'm going to go full empty here to Lingering Souls with Flashback, then plus Liliana. Maybe if I sequence this differently, I could have gotten the Bloodghast back again, because they do not seem interested in exiling it. But I don't want to gamble on my opponent just missing an onboard trick twice. The Seiju's gone. Didn't want to use it in response. I guess they can't because they need their things. I am not going to attack this turn, because if I wait until next turn, then Liliana can eat the Inkmoth. And now they can put a +1 counter on this thing and give it Walking Ballista's ability. That can pick off 2 of my Spirit tokens, but they're still pretty far away from killing me. And next turn, if I just like attack with everything, they can also ping Liliana now, or anytime. There's no creatures in graveyards for them to eat right now. If they do draw a land that's not legendary, because there are 3 legendary lands in play, they could start ratcheting up Inkmoth. Okay, backup Ballista. That does add out a lot of stuff here. It gives them an extra ping, which puts a counter on the Ozolith, which can move onto Inkmoth, and then it's another creature to eat. This Inkmoth could be 5/5 with 4 pings, plus the Ballista's original ping. There's a lot of action versus my board full of X1s. Kind of unfair that they drew all 4 Inkmoth Nexies this game. However, if they do this now, it means I can push damage, because they're going to be out of mana to activate this thing. They're doing a good job wiggling out, though. This Agatha's Soul Cauldron's been really awesome. Pinging a Bloodghast. They can exile Bloodghast and get that ping right back. If they have found that line. They found it. Unfair. Put a counter on the other Ballista. Well, the Ballista. They're both Walking Ballistas. Dealing 1 to Liliana. No attacks. Interesting. That was a weird turn. Drawing Godless Shrine kind of rules. Now the Bloodghast can get in. 1, 2... I don't think they can infect me to death off just what I'm showing them. They don't have to block here at all. This is kind of a pretty aggressive attack. Okay, they're at 5. I can plus Liliana. All right, yeah, I'll give up the Godless Shrine and plus the Lily. And leaving Spirits back to block is just so weird here, because all right, we're activating Moth in the end step. What's going on? Pinging Bloodghast while I can't save it. Okay. That's fair. All right. Leaving Spirits back to block is such a dubious proposition, because they can kill so many of them with their various Walking Ballistas. So, like, attacking with 1 pushes 1 damage through, but then they can ping 3 and still attack. So, unless I'm leaving back all of them, which I don't want to do, because the only thing I got going on here is that their life total's lower than mine. Like, unless I'm willing to leave them all back, I should just attack with all of them. Ballista can kill Liliana just with Pendelhaven, if they're still worried about that. Probably don't want it on 2 at least, but getting it down to 1, kind of whatever. They are attacking Lily. They could ratchet up permanently. They could exile Bloodghast, that makes it dead. Pendelhaven also would have made it dead. I am definitely falling behind here. I need something super sticky, like a Planeswalker that can swing this quickly. Sorin or Gideon both buff my squad, and they can only kill 2 of them in response, and it costs them their board. Oh, they're going now. All right, sure. All right, eating the Ballista. They must have some follow-up here. Another Cauldron. That's a legend. Okay. They just threw away all their old Cauldron cards to get a new Ballista Cauldron going, which is probably worth it. Ugh, that's not Vindicate. Yeah, I'm just stuck behind this 2/2 Walking, or Inkmoth Nexus now. Walking Ballista Nexus. Yeah, no attacks. All right, they have achieved stability. This is the last creature in a graveyard at the moment. It is a good one, though. And I'm 1 removal spell away from doing it here. Oh, don't do something big. This is like a giant Hangerback Walker. Yeah, okay. 2/2 Hangerback Walker. which has all the abilities of Walking Ballista because it comes with its own counters. Come on, deck. Something big. That is really good. It can exile Hangerback Walker. I'm just going to start with an attack and see if they want to pick off some spirits. This thing doesn't fly or reach. They can't sack it at instant speed to make it into Thopters. Kaya deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of cards in that player owns in exile. They've been exiling a lot of their own cards over there. Okay, so if I play Kaya and target Walker, Kaya goes down to 2. They can ping her down to 1, finish her off with Inkmoth Nexus. If I plus her, she doesn't do anything. If I target the Ozolith, that has done very little this game. All right, I think just taking out the Walker is what I have to do here. It's at least a forced sacrifice at a time that they don't really want to do that. But getting Walker into the bank of Agatha Soul Cauldron cards, now Inkmoth Nexus can ratchet up every turn and pick off X1s like crazy. And they pinged the Spirit on the way out. Not Kaya. They can finish Kaya off in combat anyway. My Kingdom for a Fatal Push or Vindicate. Oh my god, stop drawing bangers! Settle down! Okay, that's really dangerous. And Kaya's dead. Back to top deck mode. This is 2 poison. Or no, it's not, because Kaya's dead. Oh, this is 2, 3, 4, 5. This is almost lethal infect. Oh, well, my Kingdom. My Kingdom come. Okay, let's see if I can convert this. They could just shove a poison win here. I kind of hope that they do, and just hope that I'm empty over here. Hardened Scales, they're hellbent. That guarantees the poison win. If they weren't there already, they could definitely shove it now. Firing up the Nexus. Does this give them a Ballista win? I hope not. But the Ballista does have Infect also. I have 0 damage, though, because they had to kill Kaya last turn. Okay, so they crank this up to 2. Sack. The time to do this is now, right? Not getting better. In response to Modular, which means the Ozolith also hasn't triggered yet. They can just ping me for 1 on the way out. I have 1 poison now, and we're both top decking. Okay. That Fatal Push got us back to stability. Now I need a threat. Bloodghast. Liliana, okay. Not a threat, but she does help keep things stable for a little while. Plus this. I've never been playing a match when the Moto League ends for the season, so we now have 20 minutes left to finish this. This game has gotten really grindy and interesting. It's nobody's fault, but it could happen. We're live. There is more time on our combined clocks than there is left in this league. Hangerback Walker, that's so stupidly good against Liliana. And they can Ozolith it. Damn, that was a good draw. Couldn't they draw just like a brick once? One time? I think it's going to be a 7-7 immediately. Ugh, son of a biscuit. I think we just lost. That was too good. If I draw the other Kaya, if I can exile this or chump block it, or I can't chump block it because Lingering Souls is, or because Walking Ballista is in there, I can minus Liliana and at least force the action here. That's not even good though. All right, this is very bad. Yeah, they can just kill my whole board easily here and push damage. They're giving this the abilities of Ravager. Also makes it a 9/9. Zabaz, jeez, every card is good. Don't they have a forest in their deck? Could they just draw a forest on like any turn? Okay, they are zapping onto Zabaz, which makes a bunch of Thopters. Also triggers the Ozolith. Ozolith goes onto Zabaz, who has all the abilities of every card. They can just Ballista me out here. They have the Ravager plus Ballista combo. Yeah, what a sick game. It took my opponent drawing nut perfects every single turn of the game while I flooded out to all these lands, but also when you play 25 lands in your deck, this is going to happen sometimes. Yeah, that was really like 1 removal spell off in that critical mid-game. I also could have vindicated the Agatha Soul Cauldron in the first one, but then I would have had to deal with the creature that was in play. And they got me. Cool. All right. Void Mirror, they are an artifact creature deck. Break the Ice can kill Inkmoth Nexus and Urza Saga. Stony Silence good against every creature in their deck. Braids is probably not good enough. She would have won the game in that period where I was just breaking off, but against this deck that could fill the board with 1/1s and junk, not so good. Wrench Mind versus the Artifact deck, probably not a good rate of conversion. Smallpox is the nuts. Sheoldred's Edict's pretty good. Thoughtseize is fine. I like Thoughtseize early and hate it late, but that's kind of the price you pay with discarding your deck. I like the Planeswalkers. I need to be able to win. Vindicate's really good. Vindicate would have won me that game during those dregs where we were just stuck behind the Ink Moth. Maybe Thoughtseize just has to go. I'm just looking at all these powerful sideboard cards. Maybe Void Mirror sucks. Like, it does force them to have a colored mana source to do stuff, but if they have that, they can just dance around this. What if I keep a Thoughtseize and just have Break the Ice and Stony Silence? Yeah, I'm going to try this. They have enough green mana that I'm not that worried about this. Okay, here we go. Stony Silence, very good, though. On the play, the one Thoughtseize I left in my deck is here. I am going to keep this. And I am going to fire the Thoughtseize on turn 1. I would like to know what's going on over there. Because cards like Hardened Scales and the Ozolith, once they're in, they're basically in. And as we saw that game, the Ozolith did nothing for like so many turns and then won the game immediately. So this is a painful turn 1, but this is how we do. They did keep a 1-lander with Zabaz and Hardened Scales. I'm taking Zabaz. No, I can kill Zabaz. Does taking Patches even make sense? This 1-lander is so annoying. The One Ring will beat me at some point in the game. I could Bloodchief Thirst Zabaz. That basically doesn't matter. I'm going to take Scales. Does that matter? Oh my god, this is so hard. I'm taking an Automaton. Because I have the answer to Zabaz lined up here. They have to draw a green source to play Scales, and if they even do that, it'll set them back a turn on developing their creatures, which is the thing I actually care about. Or they could top deck something like Animation Module. And then my whole plan looks bad. Vindicate, okay. Don't draw a land. Lingering Souls. I am going to bin that for the value. I'm not being clever here. I'm just trying to find land number 4 for Sorin so we can punch really hard when the coast is clear. Animation Module. Whenever one or more possible counters are put on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, make a servo. All right, that's not a relevant thing at this time. Flagstones, let's go. Wish I had the Smallpox, but I will settle for a Vindicate on their only land. That locks the One Ring and Patches out for a while. They needed a green source to draw Hardened Scales, so that's the same as it was. Saga's in. This will eventually tutor for something. I think I'm supposed to just slam Sorin here. The token has flying. Mishra's Factory, what's up? Or hold on. I could play Bloodchief Thirst and Flashback Souls and then have huge hits out of Sorin instead. All right, I'm going to do that. Thirst this while it can't do anything. And then Lingering Souls. Okay, I'll save the Sorin for Giant Lifelink Cracks next turn. If I was going to do that, I should have played Marsh Flats and fetched for the Shadowy Backstreet this turn. That was a on-the-fly decision where I'd already committed some unfortunate resources. Backup Zabaz. The re-Zabazening. I don't really want to give them black mana. I don't know if that matters, but I don't want to do it. And Sorin Solemn Visitor. Should I attack first? Should I attack at all? Just kind of worried about what's coming out of this. Urza Saga. This is their last play of the game, really. I don't want to mess it up with Sorin. All right. I'm just going to go big lifelink hits. +1/+0 lifelink. I guess they could float a mana, tutor another Zabaz, Legend Rule onto the first one, Animation Module. They do have the mana to pay for. I'm going to fetch. I shouldn't have. They passed priority. I think I could have got them there. All right. I'm going to keep Lingering Souls on top of the deck because casting both sides of it here seems insane. Yeah, they passed priority. And I should have just let it pass because they didn't float one. And then by fetching, I gave them the 1. And if they get Pitting Needle there, that's just a waste of a tutor. Springleaf Drum unlocks mana, kind of. There's the Patches O'Houlihan we've known about forever. Drawing Lingering Souls. I'm going to plus Sorin first. Get my lifelink beats in. In for 4, gain 4. I don't think holding back Urborg is doing anything here. Souls, F6. They did draw a land. Hardened Scales, One Ring, 2 unknowns in the grip. I have 15 points of lifelink in play. I can also Emblem Sorin, which is at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. they would have to win with Inkmoth Nexus or a big combo turn of pinging me out from lethal if I emblem. All right, yeah, they're done. Cool. On the draw this time, you know, if they're going to keep one-landers, I think Thoughtseize is worse on the draw, and Void Mirror could lock them, especially if I'm vindicating green sources. I don't know. I don't think I want to make room for two of those, but I will bring one in just in case. Ooh, unkeepable. Leyline of Sanctity in my sideboard, by the way. I know people are going to mention it. That card's not good here. I'm going to keep this and bottom one of the Lilianas. I need land number 3 here, or a removal spell to buy time, or like Sony Silence or some banger. But multiple souls into Sorin is pretty exciting. Flagstones is kind of land number 3. I'm going to play this Flagstones now, and then I can Legend Rule them next turn and get a backstreet. If they're stirring, if they're taking time to set up, I can work with that. They found a Soul Cauldron, and they immediately led on a green source, which makes it so like the Void Mirror seems pretty sus. They've got a 2/2 Sabaz. If only I had the mighty Smallpox here. Backstreet, another Sorin. I don't need 2 of those. I'm barely happy with the one that I have. And I'm getting attacked for 2. Walking Ballista, very good. It makes these whole Lingering Souls pretty bad. Gideon Ally, looking embarrassing. And I could kind of force an issue here with Liliana, but I know they have Soul Cauldron, so that's not even good. Oh, this is falling apart quickly. Hand was too slow. Just going to try to pump some souls out. Another Scales. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we're just going to get run over here. Maybe my mulligan was bad. I'm willing to believe it. My opponent does have 5.5 minutes left on their clock, and there's 6 minutes left in this league. Maybe they'll time out, or maybe the league will end before they get to do anything. Okay, there's no creatures in the graveyard yet. If I double block, I can at least force some kind of activity. Even if it's just as simple as ping one of them with Ballista. Like, let's at least make something happen here, rather than just take a bunch of damage. Yeah, that doesn't change the clock. They took my Lingering Souls. That does tap them out for a turn of Soul Cauldron shenanigans. Probably doesn't matter, but I'm allowed to be excited about it. Godless Shrine. I could Gideon and make a 2/2. Yeah, this is rough. All right. Gideon, make a 2/2. Make a White Knight Ally. Next turn I can play both halves. Oh god, a third Hardened Scales. I don't even know what that does at this point, but it is terrifying. The next thing that puts any counter on anything is going to be in the Stratosphere. They could just ping me for 1 and then activate Soul Cauldron, and Zabaz is enormous. Zabaz does not fly unless they activate its white ability. Attacking with Ballista and Zabaz. I will once again block Zabaz. If they want Zabaz to survive combat, they have to sack Ballista and then activate. Okay. Zabaz does modular here. Make a 6/6. That kills Gideon. Okay. Holy smokes. Yeah, Hardened Scales. Insane in multiples. Very good not in multiples. Oh, Pithing Needle's last card in your hand. Cool. Just didn't even need to attack Gideon. Doesn't give a shit. And Soul Cauldron can Zabaz the Ballista, which is good for 4 counters. Another Flagstones. Okay. Flagstones. I can at least backstreet here. Get a little selection. Backstreet. Fatal Push. Put that right on top. Try to survive another turn. The Inkmoth Nexus means I can't effectively Liliana here. They just sack the Nexus and then roast me. I think I'm dead anyway. They should be able to ping their way through the Lingering Souls pretty easily. Though there is 2 minutes left in the league. We might end up at a draw if my opponent can't click through this fast enough. All right, Cauldron targeting Zabaz. I am now F6. This thing's a 10/10. And if they activate, just spend 4 mana, it becomes a 14/14. I'm actually just dead. If they just spend 4 mana and then ping me out. That's that. The time is 5:59 though, in real time. League ends at 6. I don't know how any of this works. We definitely had plenty of time to play this match. You'll notice my opponent has 1 minute 50 on their clock to my 10 minutes. Just been chilling over there, doing whatever, playing hangerback walkers instead of attacking for lethal. I guess they still have lethal here, even without that. Oh no, they attack for 6 and then ping for 6. That's not lethal. Oh, Zabaz can kill other things on purpose. So they can get lethal here. It's now 6 p.m. on the clock. I don't know if they're actually just going to pull the game out from under us or what, but here we are. They're pinging me out. Zabaz can destroy Hangerback Walker, which can put a ton of counters on the Ballista with the Soul Cauldron. Or they could just ping the Ballista down to nothing, put those counters onto Hangerback Walker. This works in a variety of ways. Yeah, this hand was probably just way too slow for what's going on. It's 6:01 p.m. They did not pull the league out from under us, and we are going to lose. All right. There's not going to be a no contest here. Okay, a 2-3 record with Orzhov Pox. You can see how this game plan works, but this was probably a little rough, and like some sort of card advantage or real way to recoup if you fall slightly behind, because there were a bunch of games where we like box them into dust and then just like Bloodghast doesn't win the game fast enough, or we have 25 lands in this deck because you kind of need a ton of them if you're going to be casting Smallpox. Tried to make them work for us. Like the shadowy backstreets were actually insane throughout the league. Even the games where it messed up our curve, it balanced out the games where I could fetch it or grab both Flagstones and get some extra selection, especially since we have Bloodghast and Lingering Souls, cards that actually function from the graveyard here. Balancing out the removal suite for your expected metagame is going to be really important. Your sideboard, there were 2-3 matches this league where I just didn't sideboard. You definitely move these cards around to play against what you expect more. Like this sideboard is kind of hard targeted at like Tron and Amulet basically, and Burn, and without really any regard for any other matchup, which as we proved versus Is It Murktide, we didn't need a sideboard there. And Zoo was really close. That was one of the matchups where we had complete control of the game for a long time and just couldn't convert. Maybe you need more Planeswalkers, maybe something like Silent Clearing that you can sacrifice to draw cards once you're done having lands in play. Having Silent Clearing and losing life every time you tap for mana isn't free, but Urborg can make it free to just have that around. This is a fun little puzzle, and the strat is there if people want to tune this. I hope Rage keeps working on it. Rage, thank you for sending this to me. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Patreon. I'll see you next time.